Hello, I'm Dan Jorquera from MindGrub Games and Planet.io Entertainment. I'm here to talk to you today about the value of production quality and how to add it in your games. I'll give examples about the benefits of production quality, what it is, as well as some quick examples of ways in which I have added production quality using the Corona and Unity SDKs. First, let's get started with a dramatic example. Spiral Games Studios originally released ORION Dino Beatdown after a tumultuous development period. The game was filled with bugs, unfinished ideas, pretty bland environments, and dinosaurs that felt more like objects than actual creatures. Around a year later, they decided to re-release the game. They called it ORION Dino Horde. They fixed the bugs, the environments look much improved, everything feels more organic, and the dinosaurs actually feel like creatures. Overall, the production quality was just increased a lot. It was the main thing that was increased. So it kind of encompasses a lot. The graphics were improved, the game mechanics were improved. Overall, the quality just felt better. As you can see from this chart shows the number of players playing the game at a certain time. You can see for ORION Dino Beatdown that there weren't many players, but as soon as this little spike here, but the first spike you see in the number of players here is when ORION Dino Horde came out. More and more people started talking about it, became more and more popular, and I'm kind of transferring the data over and assuming that sales improved. Another high quality game is Hearthstone, recently released for the iPad. It's been in beta for a long time. It's a Blizzard title, so it's got their big budget behind it, and they also have a reputation for releasing high quality titles. It is just a card game, but they've added a lot to it. Every little card has an animation, it has a voice or a sound effect file associated with it. It feels much more alive than a standard card game. It can bring a lot more players into the game. They don't have to read a lot of rules. Every card has pretty simple text on it. It feels much more like a video game than another card game that's just been made digital. This is Magic the Gathering, another card game. I think the production quality is actually fairly high for this. However, there's a lot of reading, and it feels like a card game that was ported over to Xbox. It doesn't feel like a visceral experience that involves the player. It feels like a card game, and it has some neat animations and everything. But what Blizzard did was increase the production quality tenfold for Hearthstone. Even the menu is well animated. It's just there's a lot of effects. It's fun to push the play button and see everything come alive. So why include production quality? It's easy to see the effects, but does it equal success? Especially when certain other titles fail to include production quality, and they do quite well. One famous example is Flappy Bird. I don't think the developer was planning on seeing as much success as he did, but it was a very quick game, and it was quickly released. It was just kind of an experimental thing that blew up thanks to viral marketing. I don't want to discourage experimenting. I think especially for game design students or just having fun, I think it's always a good thing to experiment, even see how it does in a marketplace, but I don't think that Flappy Bird should be an example for game designers. A lot of developers have been following the Flappy Bird trend and trying to produce replicas, and they might be lucky and do well for a short time, but it's a huge gamble, and ultimately I don't think it's worth it. It also can harm your brand name. It's easy to look at Flappy Bird and see that there are a lot of sales and want to mimic that, but ultimately it's a huge gamble. Shuriken Block is another game by the same developer as Flappy Bird. Sales start to drop pretty soon after the whole marketing blitz ends. Production quality can help ease that fall. That tail that starts to happen. That's one thing production quality can do. So you can see Strike Fleet Omega, pretty high production quality. You can see that the tail is increased by a fair amount. Instead of just dropping immediately, it kind of tapers out. Super Brothers Sword and Sorcery EP. Super high production quality game, and you can't even see a drop off yet. It's doing very well. A lot of time and care has gone into making the game. It was also very experimental, which I think a lot of developers kind of shy away from. But even if it is experimental, if you add production quality and keep it concise, perhaps it can do wonders for you. Super Hexagon is also incredibly simple. I think almost as simple as Flappy Bird. It's just, a big hexagon spinning around. You want to tap at the right time to move. I think it was incredibly difficult and complicated for the developer. Yeah. But for the player, it's a very concise, simple game that's fun to play. So these are kind of fairy tales. These guys have done extremely well. They've benefited a lot from media marketing and joining in on a Humble Bundle and things like that. So marketing is also a piece that I'm kind of ignoring, but is very important also. I just don't know that much about marketing. I just know that you have to throw money at it and then it works. So I don't think that I don't think that it should be ignored. So another high quality, production quality game is FTL Faster and Light. It's recently been released on the iPad. It's already seeing a dip, but I think, the high production quality, the cool gameplay will help extend the tail. Our very own Firaxis, right in our backyard, released XCOM Enemy Within recently. So yeah, they're always up and down, but you can see that Firaxis always puts a lot of production quality into their titles, and XCOM is no different. And also something interesting to note about the past couple titles that I mentioned, XCOM, Super Brothers, Super Hexagon, is that all of those titles cost money. They are not free titles, yet they have this extended tail. I think that when we are looking at the stats, it's easy to see the really successful free games and Angry Birds and everything, and think that free games are the only way you can go. But I think with production quality, we can start to charge users and have the users expect a higher quality title. I don't think this was super available to developers like 5-7 years ago because the hardware wasn't as good. Over time, hardware is increasing, hardware is getting better, it's easier to develop for, the tools are getting better, so we really don't have an excuse to not include production quality in our titles anymore. Gartner released a study that said that estimated that less than 0.1% of apps released before the year 2018 are going to be successful. So it is a gamble. And I think to decrease the gamble, I think production quality can help ease that. So concise titles are good to throw out there. I think possibly charging for titles might be helpful as well. More numbers that Gartner released, though, are that 94.5 titles downloaded before 2018 will be free titles. So it is much more common for users to download free titles on the iPad. However, hardware is increasing, the capabilities of it. So I think expectations for higher quality titles are going to increase a lot. Gamers, especially, are willing to spend $40 for their 3DS to buy a high production quality title. I think that's going to start to happen for the iPad, so I'm hoping that Gartner is wrong and that 94.5% is too high. The free apps downloaded, 33% of users will download it that day. So user retention is also something that's very difficult to keep, and obviously production quality can help to ease that. So I have some Unity examples, just real quick. This is yet unreleased game that I've been working on in my spare time called Strawberry Revolution. You get to play as little strawberry candy. And so anyways, I had this checkpoint and you had to, move a cube into the checkpoint. Nothing too exciting. So to kind of make it a little more fun, I moved the camera a lot closer, made the camera move around a lot more. So I think it makes it a more exciting experience. So it's just a little bit of production quality added in, and it didn't take that long. If you know how to mess with the camera, it's not a huge deal. Another way to easily increase production quality is to use the Unity Asset Store. For experienced developers, I don't think this is anything new, but for new developers, this is the most amazing place ever. Just as a quick example for something that I was able to do in a few minutes, I bought a pack of special effects, threw it in there, and now there's a bunch of sparkles when you go into the checkpoint. So there are little things like that make adding production quality into your games a little less scary. It doesn't have to be, a huge year-long experience, just adding in all the quality you can. Last year, we released, Mindgrove Games released Windsquire, and a similar problem. We had a checkpoint, and it wasn't very exciting. You broke through a wall, that was it. And this is the cool, score screen. So we wanted to add a little bit to that. So we went back in, grabbed a bunch of objects, made them physics objects, just put a whole bunch of treasure, and boom, now it's a big explosion when you go through the checkpoint. Also, I don't have footage of what this was originally, but the stars, they used to kind of just fade in, and that was fine, but and we were under a time crunch, but we were like, well, what if we could make the stars bounce a little bit? So now, when the stars fall in, they bounce up back at you. It's little things like this that can, increase the quality of your game. Other ways that we looked at production quality and increasing it in Windsquire, and I think I actually fought some of the other people on the team about this, and now I regret. The menus were simple menus that you slide up and down. But it was very important that when you slide down, it feels like on an iOS that it keeps scrolling a little bit. So we spent a fair amount of time just making sure that when you scroll up, it keeps scrolling up a little bit, and it feels a lot more natural. People are really used to it just on their device. And so when it doesn't work that way in the game, it just feels like the game is stiff, it's not working properly. It feels like a low-quality title. Even though it's just a level selection screen, it's going to have that initial effect on the player, thinking like, the developers didn't spend as much time as necessary making this a great quality game. Another issue that took a lot longer to fix was texture memory. We had this dragon. It was a big giant dragon, and he had legs that were, swinging around. But all of that took texture memory. So we cut the dragon in half, and you never actually see the bottom half of the dragon. You'll never see this image in the game. I'm just cheating with my programmer hacks, making the dragon a little higher than he should be, so you can see that there's a gradient, but the dragon's legs are missing. So there are little tricks like that, especially useful in mobile gaming, just to make sure that texture memory is never an issue. Experienced developers will be used to this, but there is great value in version control. Version control will definitely save your life one day. GitHub, source tree, also Bitbucket should be thrown up there. When something's not working, just go back a version, make sure it's to do with GitHub is to create 3 different branches. We were experimenting with 3 different types of gameplay. We were trying out runes. You have these magical runes in Windsquire that let you, gain a big speed boost or make a big explosion. But we didn't know how to have the users interact with those runes. The first idea was that you would draw shapes and then the runes would, explode. But the game slowed down a lot and users just didn't end up using it. Another idea was, and so you could pick up the speed boosts like Mario Kart style and speed away. But ultimately, it was, fun to kind of go get those pickups, but it didn't give you any choice. There was no user choice involved. You just either went towards it or you didn't. So the last option that we went with, and I think worked well, was we included the runes in the store. And so the user can go to the store, buy whichever rune they want, and then they can use it once per level. There's 100 levels, so they'll have lots of chances to use it. But it adds a little bit of user choice. They can use the rune wherever they want, and it's just one more thing to tap. Yeah, just to exit out, I wanted to highlight some high production quality titles. This is XCOM. I think everyone should get their hands on this and support local game development. I also have a little bit of FTL, Faster and Light shown in here, and possibly a Wind Squire trailer, maybe hinting that we have good production quality. Thank you, guys.